evening, everyone. You're welcome to the first of 5 sessions of the Flawless Communicator. I'm glad you've chosen to equip yourselves in this area. And if you know, the workshop, this particular workshop, the Flawless Communicator, is brought to you by Cause for Children Limited. And just before we continue, I would like to tell you a little bit about our company and myself. Could you please mute yourself if you see that you can, actually your mic is unmuted, could you please mute yourself? My name is Teacher Molly and I'm the founder of Cause for Children Limited. I'm also the CEO of the same company. This company is not for profit and we're on a mission to empower our youth to thrive. Apart from leading this charitable cause, I'm also a project manager with experience in business and data analysis within information technology industry. I'm also an author and have pioneered several initiatives for young people. One of them is organizing training and workshops to equip young people with life skills. And this is one of the training and workshops that we have put together for young people. In addition to this, since 2014, our organization, Cause for Children Limited, have been delivering this annual award ceremony called True Little Hero Awards. I mean, you can see from the screen there. This award aims to celebrate positive achievement of young people in the UK and also worldwide. So we have a category, we call it international category. And we recognize achievement of young people in different areas, be it sports, academic, writing, different areas. So you have to visit our website, www.truelittlehero.com, to find out more, especially about our timeline for 2020. It's going to be a virtual event, and we're all excited about this event. I hope that you'll enjoy this program and would like to implore you to please leave your feedback when we ask you to. And also, if you could follow us, go to our page on, I think we've got social media channels. Like our page, follow us. We have presence on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube. Go there, go and like us. Look for Cause for Children, or you can also look for True Little Hero Awards. Remember to visit our website, www.causeforchildren.co.uk, to find out more about our organization. I'm not delivering the program today. This program is being delivered by Juliana Olayinka. And I'm going to hand you over to Juliana to continue the session. I hope you have a fantastic time, and I hope that you learn something, and at the end of the program, you will leave more equipped and be more focused. You would have gained the purpose for which we have put this program together. I hope that you would have gained 1 or 2 or more things from it. Thank you. Over to you, Juliana.
Thank you very much, Titi, and good afternoon, everybody from wherever you are. This is really exciting. This is one of the first times I've actually spoken to young people during this lockdown, so bear with me, but it's going to be a really exciting session. It's going to be over within 60 minutes. It's going to be really jam-packed. So I do hope you have a pen and paper with you, or you have your notepad open on your Microsoft Word document or on your smartphone. I did hear a little bit of feedback there, so I'm just going to go through some of the ground rules. As Titi said, please, please, please sending your feedback, comments, suggestions to the Cause for Children email address, which is just on your screen here, Cause for Children Limited, ltd@gmail.com, and put the subject of this session in the subject box with the session number. Please mute your microphone. please switch off your camera. I would love to see all of your lovely faces, but there's so many of us online that might distract us. If you want to speak... Okay, so that's an example of why we'd want to mute our microphone. You can raise your hand, and you can raise your hand virtually. I'm sure you probably know how to use Zoom better than me, but there are ways in which you can ask to speak. Write your questions in the chat box. I do want to hear from you. And respect others, which is going to be an important theme throughout the entire of the 5 sessions. So yeah, let's continue. Before we start, we do want you to fill out a quick survey. We're going to do this right now. I promise it won't take more than a couple of minutes. So if you can open a new tab on your internet browser and type in slido.com, just as it's written here, SLIDO.com, and you will see this page. Now, when you get to this page, after the hashtag, you want to write flawless in the box. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. And as soon as you see this page, this exact page that I'm on, in the box, which will already have a hashtag, please type in the word flawless. You can see, once you get there, there's a poll with just a couple of questions asking for whether you're male or female and your age. You could please do that for us. Just give you a couple of more minutes. The reason why we're doing this is that when Calls for Children are hosting more sessions and more lessons for you guys, we'll make sure that we tailor them for you and your age group. So if we can do that, we'll just spend a couple of more minutes doing that, and then we'll jump straight into the session. And for those who have already done that, if you've got some time, do make sure you have a pen and a paper. Writing things down is incredibly important. It's one of the only ways that you can remember things. So we'll have one more minute doing that. I'm also not sure, but I suspect that there may be time to do that at the end of the session as well, if Titi will keep that poll live. So just in case we go forward and you haven't managed to fill that survey out, I'm sure there will be an opportunity at the end of the session. So a couple of more seconds on that, and then we'll move forward. I can see there's probably about 10 or 11, 20 people who haven't done it. So this is your last chance to fill out that survey for us. Okay, so whilst the rest of the group are filling in the survey, let me tell you a little bit about me. My name is Juliana Olayinka, and as you can see from this picture here, which was taken probably about a year ago, I am in front of a camera because I'm a journalist. I've been working in the industry now for goodness, about 16 years. I'm 34 years old, so even though I'm a little bit older than you, I just thought I'd let you know that's my age. I live in East London, born there, raised there, and I still live there with my family and my children. I went to Westminster Kingsway College. Didn't think I was going to go to college. I thought I'd go straight to work from secondary school, but I gave it a chance and I studied A-level government and politics, English literature, and psychology. I then went on to university. I went to the University Arts London. Underneath the University of the Arts London, you have various colleges. I'm sure some of you may have heard of London College of Fashion, London College of Printing, Central St Martin's, the London College of Art. It's a really great university. So for those of you who are in the UK, and are interested in university and communications, it's a university I would definitely recommend. I really honed in my skills there. I then went on to study for a master's degree, which is a postgraduate degree, and I did that in global diplomacy at the School of Oriental and African Studies, the University of London. Absolutely great course, took me all over the world, and I met some really interesting people. What you will find as you grow is that your network really is your net worth. Who you know, who's around you, speaks to you, who sees you, can really determine your future, which is why higher education is so important, because you don't know who you're going to speak to. That could be the next Prime Minister or the next leader of a bank. I have worked for Channel 4, I've worked for the BBC, I've worked for MTV, I've worked for Thomson Reuters, I've worked for Bloomberg, and I've also delivered keynote speeches at the United Nations, which is a non-governmental body that is extremely important and helps to shape the tone and the agenda for our world and resolving disputes. They have head offices in New York and in Switzerland, and I've been to both of those places. And I never thought I would be doing that, but because of, you know, bucking down, getting on with my studies, reaching as far as I wanted to, and focusing, I was able to do that. I am certain that each and every one of you can do that too. So let me give you an outline of all of what we're going to be doing during the Flawless Communicator sessions. Session 1, which is today's session, we are going to start from scratch, which is defining effective communication. What is it? What does that mean? That's what we're going to be going through today. And we're also going to be talking about building your self-confidence. It's vital and it's crucial. And especially if you want to be somebody that's working within communications, whether you're in the front of the camera like me or behind the scenes, you have got to make sure you are a confident person. Next week's session, we're going to be looking at your digital footprint. It is important. Every other year, I go back on my Facebook and my Instagram and I cringe because I'm like, why did I put that picture there? Shouldn't have put it, deleted it. It's becoming very, very important. In fact, I'm sure some of your parents made them Google my name. It's really important that we make sure we know exactly what we're putting online and are putting out the best of us. We're then going to be talking about writing. Communication isn't just speaking, it's also about the written word. And it's very important you know the who's, the what's, the why's, the how's, the when's, and how to structure a really good piece of script and text. Session 4 is the other side of the story. What does that mean? When you're communicating with an individual, you need to make sure that you understand what you're talking about. Your opinion is important, but it's not just your opinion that counts. Even with what's happening in the news at the moment, whether you believe on one side or another, you've got to know both sides of the story. Once you're equipped in understanding most things, nobody can know everything, you at least can make sure that you're talking with sense. And the final session will be a presentation of what we've done throughout the entire course, and that's when I will be getting help and assistance from you. So the course goals, very quickly. I want you to be able to understand what effective communication is. Understand the importance of being online and your responsibility to yourself to present yourself in the best way possible. I want you to be able, or you should be able to at the end of this, be able to write a clear, descriptive piece of text. I would like you guys to be able to present an argument very well, and that doesn't mean a debate in the playground or with your mum or dad. That means you're able to speak and you know what you're talking about. And lastly, I would like you to understand what the role of the media is, because it's so important, and the strongest, most powerful piece of communication is delivered by the media. you need to know whether or not you're listening to fake news or whether it's verified, and how to unshape your own opinion. I can hear some feedback. Could we please mute our mics, please? Everybody, please make sure that your mic is muted. Thank you very much. Okay, so what I would like to do at the start of every session is to give you a quote. I'm not a preacher, but I think it's important that we understand and we go into each session with our mind clear and ready to learn. And one of the most important quotes that I've followed and I live by is, your thoughts create your future. Whatever you think effectively is what comes out and what manifests itself in your life. So I want you to believe that, yes, I'm going to learn something from this session and that I can do it. I can be self-confident. If I want to work in media, in politics, even in sport, whatever you want to do, you can achieve it. And I mean that. But the only way that that can be achieved is if you believe it and you think it. So I want you to eradicate any negative thoughts, and I want you to put positive thoughts within your brain. That is extremely important. Even if you're having a bad day, a down day, a moody day, which we all have, remember, it's your thoughts that create your future. And I'd really like you to write that down if you can. Now, what we're going to start off with, as I explained in this session, is self-confidence. And we've got a video. It's not too long. It's about 4 minutes, but I really want you to, tuck yourselves in, put up your volume and watch this, because this explains some of the anxiety all of us have, not even just when we're young, we all have it, and why self-confidence is really, really important. This video is actually by TEDx, which is an amazing, really important platform that's been going on for a couple of years. Most of the videos are 2 or 3 minutes. Some of them can be about 20 minutes. It's a platform that's had and hosted the world's best speakers, the best thought leaders, the best authors, and they give you quick tips and advice about how to, stand by or live by anything. And this one I'm going to show you is for children, but I do want you to write down TEDx as well, because again, going forward, that is a great platform available on YouTube. The videos are all free, which you can use from time to time when you're in the kitchen, or if you're listening on your AirPods, that can give you a boost in whatever sector you're interested in. But we are going to listen to this video now, which is explaining the importance of self-confidence.
When faced with a big challenge where potential failure seems to lurk at every corner, maybe you've heard this advice before: be more confident. And most likely, this is what you think when you hear it. If only it were that simple. But what is confidence? Take the belief that you are valuable, worthwhile, and capable. Also known as self-esteem. Add in the optimism that comes when you are certain of your abilities. And then empowered by these, act courageously to face a challenge head on. This is confidence. It turns thoughts into action. In confidence development. So, by keeping in mind a few practical tips, we do actually have the power to cultivate our own confidence. Tip 1, a quick fix. There are a few tricks that can give you an immediate confidence boost in the short term. Picture your success when you're beginning a difficult task. Something as simple as listening to music with deep bass It can promote feelings of power. You can even strike a powerful pose or give yourself a pep talk. Tip 2, believe in your ability to improve. If you're looking for a long-term change, consider the way you think about your abilities and talents. Do you think they are fixed at birth, or that they can be developed, like a muscle? These beliefs matter because they can influence how you act when you're faced with setbacks. If you have a fixed mindset, meaning that you think your talents are locked in place, you might give up, assuming you've discovered something you're not very good at. But if you have a growth mindset and think your abilities can improve, a challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. Neuroscience supports the growth mindset. The connections in your brain do get stronger and grow with study and practice. It also turns out, on average, people who have a growth mindset are more successful, getting better grades, and doing better in the face of challenges. Tip 3, practice failure. Face it, you're going to fail sometimes. Everyone does. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 different publishers before one picked up Harry Potter. The Wright brothers built on history's failed attempts at flight, including some of their own, before designing a successful airplane. Studies show that those who fail regularly and keep trying anyway are better equipped to respond to challenges and setbacks in a constructive way. They learn how to try different strategies, ask others for advice, and persevere. So think of a challenge you want to take on. Realize it's not going to be easy. Accept that you'll make mistakes, and be kind to yourself when you do. Give yourself a pep talk, stand up, and go for it. The excitement you'll feel knowing that whatever the result, you'll have gained greater knowledge and understanding. This is confidence.
Okay, that was great. So we had a kind of overview of what confidence is, not giving up, not feeling as if, gosh, I didn't get it right the first time, so it's over. No, it's the ability to say, right, I haven't got it right the first time, I'm going to keep going. I'm not feeling great today, but I'm going to get up and do it anyway. This brings us on to the first activity. So I hope you've got your pen and papers or your Microsoft Word document up. This is just going to be for about 3 or 4 minutes. And what I want you to do, first of all, is I want you to describe in one sentence what self-confidence means to you. It doesn't have to be what you've just seen on that video, although that helps. But to you, what does it mean? I want you to write that down for me. To me, I would say self-confidence means the ability to not give up, the ability to put your head up, perhaps even when you're surrounded by people that doubt you, the ability to not go for always what's easy, but for go with what's difficult, to challenge myself and to keep moving forward. Those are the kind of items that I would suggest.
I'm not telling you.
And can we please mute? Can we please mute? Thank you very much. I also want you to name for me 3 individuals who you believe exude self-confidence. Who is confident that you know? If it was me, I would probably go for one of my daughters, Phoebe Grace. She is extremely confident. I would probably write somebody like Hillary Clinton, who was the former First Lady and a former candidate to be the President of the United States. And then I would also probably put somebody like Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He definitely looks like somebody who's very confident. Who do you think is confident? Please write down those 3 individuals for me. Next, I want you to list 3 of your best character traits. Now, this is thinking of the positive things about you. Are you funny? Are you smart? Are you caring? Are you kind? Are you ambitious? I want you to think about 3 things that you really, really like about yourself. There can be 4, there can be 5, there can be 6. I then want you to write 3 character traits that you want to improve on. And these are some of the character traits that I hope over the next couple of sessions will try to evolve or turn around. Are you sometimes a little bit impatient with your little brother or sister? Do you sometimes give your mum dirty looks? What about punctuality? Are you somebody that sometimes has to be dragged out of bed to get to school? What about perseverance as well? Are you somebody that gives up easy? I want you to identify and really be honest about those 3 things that you think, do you know what? I could really improve on them. It's why it's important to identify these things, is because until you know some of the traits that are holding you back, and until you identify and can admit to them, it's impossible to change them. So it's really as important as it is to identify what you're great at, it's also important to identify what you can improve on. I also want you to do, in 1 sentence, explain why this negative character trait is holding you back. So out of the 3 things you've just listed, pick one of them that you know, wow, I really need to start getting to school on time, because I don't want another letter to the head teacher. I don't want another letter to my mum from the head teacher. Or do you know what? I really love my sister. I just need to stop being impatient with her. Just explain why you think that negative character trait is an issue. Lastly, I want us all to write down 1 thing you are going to do over the next 7 days to challenge this mindset, this character trait. So if it's the punctuality, even though we know there's no school commitment, are you going to be getting to your Zoom class on time? Are you going to start spending some time with your sister? Are you going to start writing that book that you've got in your brain? Are you helping your mum wash up the dishes? Are you going to not wait for your dad to ask you to make your bed? What are you going to write as a goal over the next 7 days that you're going to do? Because I'm telling you, once you do that, you are going to feel more confident. This is going to help boost you. So let's just spend a couple of more seconds on that before we move on to the next part of the session. Any feedback, any questions, I'm happy to see them in the chat. Also as well, I'm sure Calls for Children will be making some of these slides available online or via email. So don't feel you have to be rushed. An hour does go quite quickly. So don't worry, you will be able to answer these activities. Let's move on. Now, effective communication, which is essentially the reason why we all signed up to this session. Communication is in different ways. I'm communicating to you now verbally, which is obviously remotely, but it's face-to-face. So you're speaking to somebody at school, at college, at church, wherever you are, you can speak face-to-face. You can speak over the telephone. I know most of us use WhatsApp and social media. Others do pick up the phone and speak to people. The media, when you put on, whether it's Piers Morgan in the morning, maybe for your parents it's CNN or the BBC, you can hear them communicating to you through the television via media. Communication can also be written. You can write letters. People do still write letters. It's dying out, but you can communicate that way. You can also communicate via email, which is more common. And I think considering we are now in a digitized era, that's clearly how we mostly communicate. Social media, vital. I'm sure you all do Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, and books, which I'm sure we all read. I know Titi will be having a book club soon, which I hope you'll all be joining. Books are a great way to communicate. In fact, I find that the best way, but I don't want to go on and on about that because we could be here for another hour. Body language, really, really important. This is almost something that you don't really speak about, but people can see it on your body. I'm sure you've all had it where your mum says, stand up straight, or what's that look for? That's also your image, how you look. I'm not sure if you can see me, I hope you can, but I really thought about what I was going to dress and wear today, because I wanted you to see me in the best light, dressing appropriately for whatever you're doing. Your tone of voice, really important. Yeah. Yes. Yes. There are certain ways you can project your voice that can determine to whoever's receiving it how you're feeling and what you're trying to convey. Very important. And your gestures. I talk with my hands a lot. Sometimes that can be a great way if you're really passionate about something. You may see politicians using their hands a lot when they want to convey a message, or football. I know football started earlier in the football fans on here. When Raheem Sterling wants the ball and somebody's really far away, he's going to use his hands to say, come and give me the ball. But then also as well, gestures can be negative. And that's what we don't want to do. We don't want people to look at us, see us not looking great. Our tone of voice is not confident. And we're also using gestures that tell them to go away. So this is really important, really important. These are the most important ways that we communicate. How do we then develop effective communication? Learn to listen. This means giving your full attention to the person speaking and genuinely concentrating on what they are saying and what they are not saying. Communication isn't just about you. It isn't just about what you have got to say. If you want to be somebody that's effective in communicating, you must listen to what the teacher is saying, your parent is saying, the teacher is saying. I hope you're listening to what I am saying. We all switch off from time to time, but it's when you switch off that you lose part of the communication. So when you're speaking back to somebody, you may have not heard everything they said. And if you haven't heard everything you said, how are you going to respond appropriately? Listening is so important. It isn't about hearing, because we can all hear, but are you listening? Are you receiving that information? Emotional awareness. Emotional intelligence is thinking before you speak and showing empathy towards others. Vital. I work in a busy newsroom. There are times I'm frustrated. I need to get on air before, the timer's up. And there can be people around you. Can we please mute our mics? Thank you very much. There can be people around you that are annoying you. If you do not think about how you're feeling before you speak, you can offend somebody. You can offend them, and then when you've calmed down a couple of minutes later, you'll be thinking, why did I do that? But you've already offended them, and then you have to apologize. You may be having a really tough time at home. Your mum may have shouted at you, or something's happened. You go into school, the teacher asks you one question, and you lash out at them. You cannot do that, because that has a ripple effect. So really think before you speak. Just think about how you're feeling, what you're trying to convey, so that you can make sure you convey the best of you all the time, even if it takes 30 seconds to answer. It's better that you stop and think about what you're going to say before you just blurt it out, because that 5 seconds of what you say can have a ripple effect negatively. Also, showing empathy towards others. This is really important, and this is emotional intelligence. Sometimes I can look at somebody who I want to speak to and I can see, wow, that person's countenance is low. Their feelings, they look a little bit hurt. So instead of rushing up to say something to them, I may think, maybe I should ask them if they're okay. If you want to ask your mum for money, I'm sure you've all done that before. You look at your mum and you're like, mummy's in a bad mood, maybe not today. That's emotional intelligence. But it's not just doing it when you want to ask for money from mum. It could be when you're going to an interview, or when you're speaking to just somebody outside of your house. And you look at them and you can tell whether or not they're in the mood to speak, whether they want to engage in long conversation. Really important that you understand these things. This is how you develop effective communication. Treating people equally. By treating people as your equal and also equal to each other, you will build trust and respect. You don't just respect your group of friends. You don't just respect the people who are of the same religion as you. You don't just respect the people that are of the same race as you. You respect everyone. When you respect everyone, you learn so much. Even if you're in year 11 and somebody's in year 7 or year 8, it doesn't mean because they're younger than you that you don't respect them. People who have effective communication skills respect everybody. Why? Because when you give respect, people respect you. You build a good network and people trust you. That is really important. And you never know who anybody's going to be tomorrow. You may see somebody now and you think, oh, that person's young, or I don't care about that person. In 5 years' time, they're the head of a company or they're doing something great, but because you were mean to them or dismissed them because you were different than them, they dismiss you. So really important. I know this may sound basic, but sometimes it needs to be reiterated because this is all part of the skill of communication. Maintain a positive attitude. If you smile often and stay cheerful, people are more likely to respond positively to you. I say this to my daughter all the time. You may not mean to be mean. You may have a face that doesn't smile much, but if a stranger sees you and they walk past you and you're giving them what some people could call a screw face, I don't know what the terms are now, they may think you're not a nice person. It's really important when you're engaging with people to smile, to just feel good, feel great. Always think about what other people are going to be thinking about you. I know this is not possible all the time, but it's really important that you have that at the back of your mind. And lastly, learn to ask questions. Questioning is a crucial skill to ensure that you have understood someone's message correctly. If you do not know, ask. Ask, ask, ask. And that goes back to learning to listen. When somebody's talking to you, if you're not sure of what they're saying, ask them to repeat themselves. It doesn't take much, but by doing that, you can learn and you can engage and you can be going back and forth with each other. Learn to ask questions. This is really important for all of those of us who are in school. I know you're off school at the moment, but when you're back in September, it is vital when you're doing your maths lesson, your English lesson. If you do not know, do not allow your teacher to skip to the next part. Ask them. If you don't want to ask in front of your peers, ask at the end of the lesson. When you ask, you receive and you learn more. Okay, it's that ready. Time for a 5 minutes break. I really want you to think about now all of the bits and pieces that we have just been going through. This is a great time for you to get a cup of tea, a glass of water, all of the activities, well, the one activity that we've gone through where we're looking at our character traits and the negative character traits that we want to change. Please go back to activity 1 and I want you to flesh that out for me. Really flesh it out. Really look at what you want to achieve over the next 7 days that you can do by just changing that one character trait. Also as well, what I will be doing before we get to the part 2 of the session is I will be looking at where some of you guys are zooming in from, and perhaps we'll be saying hello to a couple of you. But yes, this is time for you to grab a drink, a tea, and just flesh out activity 1. Thank you. This is what sends most people, even the most professional, somebody like me who's been on screen for 16 years, It sends you into a frenzy, shaking, anxiety, but it is so important. The spoken word can be even more powerful than the written word in the hands of the right speaker. Over the years, public speaking has played a major role in education, government, business, and social media. Words have the power to inform, persuade, educate, and even entertain. Writing an effective speech. Now, this isn't just if you're going to do something like me or speaking in front of a classroom. I'm sure many of you must be quite popular on social media, wherever you're going to deliver a speech. And don't see speech as, you know, too stuffy and formal. It can even just be speaking for 2 or 3 minutes to a various group. You need to think about your audience. There's certain words that I won't use today because I know the audience I'm speaking to. You need to know who you're speaking to, whether you can use slang, whether it can be a little bit relaxed, or whether it needs to be more formal if you're at a job interview or speaking in front of your head teacher. Also as well, what's the purpose? Even if you're speaking in front of the head teacher, you may want to say something that's a little bit relaxed. Maybe it's a drama play. If it's not, then you need to be a little bit more formal. So when you're writing a speech, you need to think about what the purpose is, and that's going to help you with the structure. Does it have jokes? Does it not? You need to think about the structure because the structure is important. There's got to be a beginning, a middle, and the end. It's like a sandwich. You know, you start with a brief introduction, you've got the meat in between, all the facts and the figures and the stats, and then you've got a nice ending. That's a great way to start a speech. Beginning, middle, ending. And then you can start putting bits and pieces in between. Planning and preparation. Practice makes perfect. It's an age-old saying, but it's age-old because it is true. The more you practice speaking, whether you're speaking in front of your brother and sister, on Zoom, on TikTok, the more you do it, the better you can be. Overcoming the fear of speaking. You need to embrace the role of the speaker. You need to pace yourself and you need to engage the audience. Engaging the audience is just like I did with you during the break. Where are you from? What are you doing? When you're speaking to people, it's good to look them in the eye if you're doing it in front of them. And it's also good if you're doing anything on social media to start asking for interactions between you and your viewers or your followers. Also, you need to pace yourself. I'm speaking quite quickly because we don't have much time. But when you're nervous, if you try and rush through a speech, it's going to be much worse. Always give your time to think and reflect to get your words out very quickly. Embracing the role of the speaker is just saying, do you know what? I've got to do it. I'm the speaker. Don't try and hide from it. Again, this is going back to being self-confident and being confident within yourself. And saying, you know what? I am going to do this no matter what. Practice the speech. Again, practice makes perfect. An effective speech takes careful planning. That goes back to our first point. Keep your structure simple. Beginning, middle, end. Planning. Don't start going around the houses. You started and then you're going back to where you began. Beginning, middle, end. And you piece things in the beginning. You start by introducing what you're going to talk about. In the middle has the facts and the figures and what you want to say. And in the end, you wrap up with a conclusion. We'll do that in more depth when we do our writing session. Repetition, reference, quotes. Important. A good speech always references somebody or something. It's not copying and pasting and cheating when you say, during this time, Patricia Bright said, Ariana Grande once said, former President Barack Obama said. When you start quoting and referencing people, people take you seriously because they know you've done your homework. Repetition is important because it allows people to engage with you. They keep things in their head, like your thoughts predict your future. The more you repeat something during a speech, it shows that you've got a slogan. And then you give the speech. You give it with confidence, succinct, prepared, planned, and well done. We're wrapping up shortly, but before we go, I want to introduce you to a lady. Please write this lady's name down, Malala Yousafzai. She is a phenomenal woman, and anybody that wants to enter communication will definitely come by her. I'm sure you guys may have come by her before. She's 22 years old. She is very well known for being an activist for young girls and women's rights, especially in education. At 13, Malala was a victim of a gun attack in Pakistan, and it made no news because she was living under a regime that didn't believe girls could go to school or should go to school. And her parents believed in her so much, they still sent her to school. And there was some severe consequences for that, for her and her family. But she did survive. She was moved to Britain for emergency surgery, and her story became a global sensation. At 16, Malala delivered a speech at the United Nations. Malala also met with former US President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle, as well as their children, Sasha and Malia. She was labeled Woman of the Year by Glamour magazine. In 2014, she won the Nobel Peace Prize. She is the youngest Nobel Peace Laureate. The Nobel Peace Prize is one of the most, if not the most, highest honor you can receive for peace and for literature and various other areas of goodwill and communication. Just yesterday, Malala graduated from Oxford University with a degree in politics, economics, and philosophy. Oxford University is one of the best universities in the world. It does bring out some of the world's best leaders and politicians, and it's in the UK. I'm sure many of you will be going to that university. I want to play you a very snippet, it's very short, it's only 2 minutes long, of her Nobel laureate keynote lecture. And I want you, when you're listening to this speech, I want you to pick up on all of the stuff we've spoken about: body language, eye contact, self-confidence, clear, concise words, structure. It's 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, and I really want you to listen to this very clearly.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Your Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, distinguished members of the Norwegian Nobel Committee, dear sisters and brothers. Today is a day of great happiness for me. I'm humbled that the Nobel Committee has selected me for this precious award. Thank you to everyone for your continued support and love. Thank you for the letters and cards that I still receive from all around the world. Your kind and encouraging words strengthens and inspires me. I would like to thank my parents for their unconditional love. Thank you to my father for not clipping my wings and for letting me fly. Thank you to my mother for inspiring me to be patient and to always speak the truth, which we strongly believe is the true message of Islam.
Okay, that was, I'm sure, a wonderful speech. It was a small snippet of her speech. This is the last activity, guys. And please, I want you to jot down what stood out from Malala's speech. What just listening to that 2-minute clip stood out for you? For me, one of the first things I noticed is the fact that she adjusted the microphone. She wanted to start that speech being as comfortable and as confident as she could. That stood out. And also her pace. She waited for the applause. The structure was right. She started off speaking in her foreign language. Everything to me about that speech was wonderful. What stood out for you? If you were to deliver a speech at an event, what would it be about? If I was to deliver a speech tomorrow, I would probably talk about the importance of history. The importance of history. What would you deliver a speech about? If you could deliver a speech right now, what would it be about? Who would also be your target audience for that speech? If it was me, my target audience would probably be your age group. I would say teenagers. I would want them to know the importance of looking back and seeing all the stuff that's happened, which has taken them to where we are. I can see some of your thoughts: human rights, Black Lives Matter, Corona, really, really strong points, guys. Also as well, what would be the title of your first public speech? The title of my first public speech, which would be about the importance of history for teenagers, I would probably say, you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you're coming from. That would probably be the title of my first public speech. What would be the title of yours? Remember, these slides will be available to you. I'm sorry we're rushing. In fact, we're actually out of time, but it still feels like rushing. It's been so amazing, guys. It's really lovely seeing all your comments as well. Maintaining campaign, the revolution of human rights, self-love. Wow, we've got some leaders on here. I'm so proud. Okay. Now we are coming to an end. And we have an assignment, and this is exciting because it's not just going to be me and Titty talking. We are going to be hearing from you. And this first assignment, which will go on over the next 5 weeks, is your elevator pitch. What is that? The elevator pitch is the name given to elevator pitches. It refers to the pitch's duration, which needs to be quicker than an elevator ride. They call it elevator, but in the UK we call it lift, although I know we've got America in the house. It's a well-delivered pitch of this kind, and it should last no longer than 30 seconds. Elevator pitches work well to put in a good word for you with someone who interests you professionally at an educational level or in your career. This is why it's highly recommended that you memorize it. Let me give you a quick example. I could be shopping at Sainsbury's, and in the queue, I turn around and I see the Director General of the BBC, somebody who's in charge of the BBC, and he's queuing behind me. Oh my goodness, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I could actually get a job from speaking to him. So what I'm going to say is, hi, sir. I'm really sorry to disturb you, but I just wanted to say hello to you. I'm Juliana Olayinka. I actually worked at the BBC a couple of years ago. I've been an investigative journalist. I'm really focused on the African narrative. I know that the BBC have such a great programming schedule for Africa. I would love to come and put some of my ideas down during a meeting with you or some of your team, because I've worked in Africa. I've got so much experience, and I've previously worked at the BBC. Can we arrange a meeting for a coffee? Something like that. That is a brief, that is an in-your-face, 30-second opportunity, a little bit about me, a little bit about what I can do for you in an elevator pitch. Also have I believe a feed, this is now for feedback. So also, if you can go back to your Slido, and type in flawless again, because we're flawless, as Beyonce says. See, I'm engaging my audience now, aren't I? I just referenced Beyonce. I'm sure you all know who Beyonce is. And this is what we want you to do now, guys. Just describe your experience of this workshop. It's been absolutely amazing. Yes, we've got 4 more weeks together, and I know I've been doing all the talking. I am, I promise, going to hand back over to you so you guys can do some talking, and we'll start doing that talking